So good morning, everybody. Today we are very privileged to have Gonzalo Iturriaga, who is the Technical Director of Tempos Vega Sicilia, and he is going to talk us through a presentation of Bodegas Macan. So Gonzalo, thank you very much, and please, when you're ready.
Well, thank you for having me here. Please ask me as many questions as you have, and I will try to answer. Macan, this is a joint venture between three, Benjamin and Pablo. They were, I don't know where, but they were together. And Benjamin asked Pablo, why don't we do something together? Because he have done this with in several places, like in South Africa, in Argentina, in New Zealand. And Pablo said, well, Pablo thought, well, he's a banker, and I don't know if I'm going to trust him. And Pablo said, for me, making a wine is a question of a patience, paciencia, patient. I don't know if you say like patient. You understand patient?
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Patient. And he said, but how long it takes to make a great wine? And for Pablo always said that to make a great wine, you need a life, one generation. And he said, okay, I trust you. We are going to go together. And where are we going? And Pablo said, I has been always thinking in producing good wines or great wines in Rioja. And Rioja for him was a huge place where you can produce wines. So we start buying wines secretly from 2003 to 2009. And normally the people ask me, why Macan? Why is the name of Macan? The name of Macan is because of this village, San Vicente de Asonsierra. The nickname of the people that live in San Vicente is Macan. So that's why we put the name of the wine Macan. And it was an easy name to pronounce, an easy name to keep. So that's why they decided to put this name to the wine. So this was the inauguration, Pablo and Ariane, and the old king of Spain. It was a really beautiful day. We have a huge party and a lot of drink, and I don't know how I finished myself, but it was great. And this is the winery is up into, it's here, okay? Can you see the winery is here?
Yes, we can, thank you.
Okay, and all our plots, it's all around from La Bastida. This is La Bastida, this is San Vicente, this is Samaniego, and here is Baños de Ebro. So we have plenty of different plots around all Rioja Alavesa and Rioja Alta. When we start buying vines, what we want is first to have vines that were planted before the 1990, because in the 1990 there was a clonal selection that was that they were Tempranillos too big and too productive, and we didn't want to have this type of muscle selection, so we didn't want that. So we bought vines before this period. And we also want to buy different terroirs, because the huge problem in Rioja, and especially in this northeast part of Rioja, is the weather. So we want to have, and the hills, we want to have plenty of different soils all around this part that we believe is the best part to produce great wine. So we have it here nearby the La Bastida, we have here Carbonera, that is huge, Arenales, incredible, Bardallo, they are all or La Cóncova, here La Cóncova, no, this is Valseca, La Cóncova here, or La Nava. So we have plenty of great terroirs to produce Macan and Macan Clásico. Okay, here you have two photos. The right one, this is for me one of the best vines we have, La Canoca. La Canoca is one of the plots where we are doing our muscle selection. We took plenty of Tempranillos from here and we planted in another plot. For me, it's our clos because there is a wall all around this plot, Le Clos de la Canoca. The other one is La Rat. This also goes normally for Macan. And for us, this is the most important thing. This is our heritage. This is the having a great vines with all clones of Tempranillo, working with no herbicide, working, as you can see. Can you put the video, there is after this slide, there is this video. Can you put this video showing how we work also with horse, please? Well, we started doing this 2 years ago because here in Rioja, there are some places that you cannot use tractor. And we are starting doing this to work with mulas. It's not a horse, it's not a donkey, it's a mula.
It's a mule.
Mule, okay.
Gonzalo, how many hectares do you plow like that?
We do the ones that around 35, 40 hectares, the ones that we can not do with a tractor, that are dangerous to do with tractor because you have there is a cliff now nearby, so around 35, and we are learning about how to do it because it's very important to do it in the right moment, because if not, it's too hard, the soil, and you cannot do it. But well, we are learning.
Gonzalo, quick question on that farming practice. Are those vineyards generally vineyards that go into Macan versus Macan Classico?
Well, the ones we pass the horse, normally they are the older one, and this one is El Llano. Last year it went to Macan Classico because we had a little bit of draftness. That's why we are passing now the horse, but normally it goes to Macan. Nowadays, more or less, we know which ones go for 40% that we hear more or less sure that goes for Macan, 30% that more or less we know that they're going to Macan Classico, and there are 30% that depending how the vintage goes for one or goes for another. But we are learning about the terroir.
Excellent, thank you.
This is the new winery. Since 2009 until 2015, we were renting a winery 5 minutes from here, but in 2016, we finished these facilities. This is the new facilities, the winery. This is, for me, the garden nowadays is much better than this picture, but the location is nearby the Sierra Cantabria. The views are amazing for me. I always say that I am the spoiled winemaker in Spain for sure, in the world. Yes, I think so also. And for me, since 2016, we can do the things much better. We can vinify differently. Before it was not the case. We can do different vinification between Macan and Macan Classico. And before, we didn't have non-space and we didn't have capacity to do that. So for me, 2016 is the point where we jump, improving the quality of the wines. For me, when I start in 2015, one of the first things Pablo told me, it was like, Macan is a good wine, but there is a lack of something. There is a lack of, I don't know what to say. And for me, when he told me that, I feel free to start doing plenty of different things to keep improving the quality. And we've been working very, very hard to give anima to the wine, to give more finesse and to give more elegance to the wines. So in the case of Macan, like it's the last challenge that we have, I feel more free to do much more things than in the other wineries. So here we start doing plenty of different things since the beginning. All the things that we change if we compare to the past, of course, the vinification. The vinification nowadays, we can do it Macan Clásico, more cooler alcoholic fermentation with less maceration and less extraction to give more fruity and more easy going and easy drinking. And in Macan, we push a little bit more with the extraction, and we go up with the temperature. We also reduce for the percentage of malolactic in barrel. For me, doing malolactic in barrel in Rioja, I don't like it. So nowadays we just do some trials, but we don't do malolactic fermentation. And before we used to do 25% of malolactic in barrel. We are starting using foudres that we have here, a photo of the foudres. For me, using foudres during the aging help us to give the wine more definition, more precision, more elegance, more length, and to work more the silkiness of the tannicity. We are reducing the new oak. In 2014, we used to use 75% of new oak, and nowadays we use 50% of new oak. So we've been changing also the type of toast, the type of grain. Now we work more with long and slow temperature and long toast, and before they were a little bit more toasted. So in this, since 2015 to nowadays, there has been a really nice evolution, and I think people are they like the evolution we are doing with the wines. More or less understandable.
Yes, that's very good. Just one question: are you experimenting with any white varieties?
Well, we have a Buda. Around 50 tons per year, but for the moment we are doing only 2 barrels, and only for us, because I think we have to focus quite a lot in red wine, because for the moment we are a good wine and we want to be a great wine, and I think that our focus is still in red wines. White wine maybe in the future, but for the moment we have to focus more and more in red wines.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so we've been doing plenty. It has been a nice evolution where we are doing all this. For example, 2015 Macan is the wine you released. It's the first wine. The fermentation was in the old winery where we were rent, but the finishing of the aging was in the new winery, where and it's the first wine where we start using big vats, big foudres to finish the aging process. 2016 Macan Clásico, it's all produced in the new winery. And one of the things the people used to say to us, it was that there was not a big difference between Macan and Macan Clásico. And that's why we are working very hard to give them 2 different styles, completely different styles. In Macan Clásico, we want to give a more approachable, easy drinking, easy fruit forward. And in Macan, we want to produce a more deep length, with more texture, with more capacity of aging, with another dimension wine. More or less, okay? Yes,
it's good. Thank you, Gonzalo.
Okay. What next? Well, what next? In the future, we are also, in these small tanks, we have in all the wineries a small part where we do small fermentations. Here we are investigating natural yeast. So maybe in 2 more years we can work with our own natural yeast, like we do in León and we do in Vega Sicilia, and we are working very hard. And we are working very hard to keep knowing how to work with the fooders, how we age the wines with fooders, and how we and we are working also with the toast we produce in our cooper, in the barrels of our cooper. Okay. So these are the fooders, the beautiful fooders. Today we have 8. Next year, depending how's the vintage, we are going to have 10. We have around 25% of the wine aged in these fooders.
And Gonzalo, how long will you keep those fooders for?
Well, we don't know. We don't know. In Vega Sicilia, the big vats that they are 8 or 10, from 8,000 liters to 20,000 liters, we leave it for no more than 8 years, 10 years. Here, I think that is smaller. I think we should take them out 5, 6 years, but we have to see. We have to follow them to see when the fooders start giving you dry tannicity. Is the moment when we see that it can have problems of microbiological problem. Is the moment where we are going to take the decision to take them out. I don't know if that was the question.
Yeah, that's the question. And just a subjective question for you. Which is, in your opinion, the best vintage of Macan to date?
19. 19. For me, 19 last year was a year to have pleasure, a year to enjoy, and also we have many knowledge and we understand more and more our terroirs. But for me, 19 is going to be the best one. 16, for the moment, for me, is the best Macan. 16 is the best Macan. 17 Macan Clásico is very nice, even though the vintage was quite complicated. 18, it was a challenging vintage, but I think we are now preparing the wine to be bottled. But I think the result is, I feel very proud because I think we've done a great interpretation of the vintage and I feel very proud. But 19 naturally is huge. It's impressionant. I
look forward to tasting that one.
See, no, I tasted last week all the wine from all the wineries, and 19, when everything is easy, when it's easy, you don't have to. It's everything. All the decisions are much easier. 18 has been tough to build the wine. It's been to polish the tannicity, to work the finesse. But at the end, I think the result is very nice. But 19, everything is much better, and we have much more concentration, but with finesse. In 18, some of the lots didn't have that concentration. So that's why we sacrifice production and we produce less Macan and we produce more Macan Clásico. But here it's very easy to take this decision. It's just a question of speaking with Pablo 5 minutes. Pablo, I think that the Macan, we can only produce 60,000 bottles of Macan of great quality. And he said, go ahead. He doesn't mind about the money, the return of the money. He only minds about the quality of the wine. And in 18, we have to do this to produce much more Macan Clásico and to produce less Macan.
Thank you. Yes, I think so. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, Gonzalo, I have a question. Two winemaking dynasties, such as the Rothschild family and the Alvarez family, how do you combine the philosophies of both families into creating a wine in Spain?
Well, I think the best thing is that they trust us in all the technical part, because they believe that we know what's going on with Tempranillo. So all the technical part, they really trust us, and that's very important. And they're more worried about the Rothschild part. It's more worried about the speech, about the brand, about the image. So, and it's something that normally Pablo Alvarez, you know, that for him marketing and is not that important. So I think they make a great combination because they really trust what we want to do, and they really believe in the wines. When Ariane de Rothschild, is not his husband, it's her, she's taking care of the winery, try the 16 and she really loved the way we are doing. I feel very, very happy because both parts feel very happy of the way we are, of how we are improving the quality. So I think both of them have their part, but they don't go one into another part and the other to. I don't know if you understand me.
Yes, perfect answer.
See, because they know that we know how to produce good wines and great wines, and both of them, one of the best things is that both of them have patience to produce a great wine. It takes time until you know your terroir. It takes time until you know how to do the extraction in one plot or in another. It takes time to know how you have to age and what type of wood, and to know how you have to age the wine in foodrest. Everything takes time, but both of them knows that this is not a short project, a short-term project. They know that this is for next generation. And I feel that Ariane, for her, Macan is the apple of her eye, because it was the winery where she decide to invest. All the wineries, all the rest of the wineries of the partnership that they have with Flecha de los Andes or with Rupert de Rothschild or Rimaper, it wasn't her. But for her, Macan is like the apple of her eyes. Okay?
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, so Macan, I don't know if you have more questions about Macan. Here's the history, but we have a small history, so no, we cannot. We are really happy how everything is going, how the wines are, the evolution of the wines. We are very happy with the style. We are more close to the style that we want to produce in 15 Macan. We start to be there, but in 16 you're going to see a little bit more of finesse, and more and more I think we are achieving the style of wine we want to produce. Okay, let's go.
Excellent.
Well, Pintia. Pintia, it's Pintia.
Gonzalo, before you talk about Pintia, there was a question about Macan and will there be a Reserva or a Gran Reserva? Can you just speak to the aging with the Macan wines, and why don't you use those classifications?
Well, we don't use this classification because if you use this classification, you cannot use, for example, the foodrest. In fact, we think that we can do whatever I think we have brand enough to do that. We don't need to have Reserva, Gran Reserva in the label. In fact, Único, Reserva Especial, or Buena, they are generic wines like Isalion or like is Macan. So I think the owners think that we have to do what we believe we have to do. If we want to use foodrest, let's go and use foodrest, and it's very good for us to use foodrest. That's why Macan more or less is a 16-month aging process in between barrels and this big foodrest, more or less, depending the vintage, but more or less. And Macan Clásico is more or less a 12-month aging process, more classic aging process, and mainly in French oak and a little bit in American oak. So we don't want to put crianza, cosecha. We just want to do whatever we think is best for the wine. I answered the question, Kirk?
I think so. Thank you.